better relationship to this, establish your emergency fund. After that, you want to get rid of every single dollar that you have. You want to put it into real assets. You have to change your relationship. You want to buy income. What I teach people to do is buy multifamily real estate. Okay. I have a portfolio of 10 properties with 30 apartments in California, Oakland, California, Brooklyn, New York, and New Orleans, and in Baton Rouge, right? In Baton Rouge, I created a fund that allowed about 1,000 of us to come together. We raised $3 million to develop 180 multifamily units there. So that is the collective economics, the group economics that Dr. Muhammad is talking about. Well, on my personal side, I have 30 apartments. At the age of 35, my daughter's 6 years old. At the age of 35, she will have at least, if I stopped right now, she will have $25,000 a month in passive income for the rest of her life. So we're coming up on these holidays, Thanksgiving, other people's unholy days, right? We're coming up on these days where they're going to encourage you to buy things. That is not love. Buying Jordans for your kids is not love. Buying the new PlayStation for your kids is not love. Buying these consumer items is not love. Sacrificing and doing what you need to do now to make sure that they are set up for the future, that is true love. And so,
hey, Julian, I just got to notice that we've got 2 minutes left.
Yeah. I'm gonna get it to Doc right now.
And I'd like to have Dr. Wesley Muhammad to
wrap. Get it to Doc right now. So I encourage everyone who is renting right now, you to recognize, one, you were homeless. I need you to go move in with your family members who you might not like and shack up for 3 years until you all can stack up enough bread to go buy real estate on your own. That's it.
Dr. Muhammad.
Thank you. This was awesome. I loved listening to the outpourings of each and every brilliant mind. That's God to me. Black man is God. God is the black mind. I would just close this discussion on Black power with this. White power is a reality. Black power is an ambition. Despite the individual episodic illustrations of Black empowerment, white power is a reality. Black power is an ambition. I believe that one of the reasons white power is a reality is because white people are more in accord with their nature. One reason Black power is a hope for ambition is because most Black people, we are not in accord with our nature. And so the nexus between Black power as an individual phenomenon and Black power as a national phenomenon, I would offer, is provided by the study course that the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan put us on, entitled Self-Improvement, the Basis of Community Development. So a real individual response or strategy for Black power will lead to the necessary collective or national display of Black power. And what does that strategy look like as I close? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, accept your own and be yourself. Most white people in power are in power because they're being themselves. They are in accord with their nature. Black people, too many of us, are not. What is his own self? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the Black man is God, and God is a being of power and force. There will be no true display of Black power until Black people have reconciled with who and what we are on an individual as well as collective basis.
And with that, because we're right up against the clock, I'm going to say thank you. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. It was absolutely an honor for me to be with each one of you. And again, I want to take a moment to thank Boyce Watkins for bringing this August panel together. Boyce Watkins and his team.
We love you, Dr. Boyce. We love you, Rock.
Love you too, brother.
That's right.
Great job.
All right.
Great job, Doc.
We all love each other. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, all right. Well, thank you to our panelists. Everybody, please give a digital round of applause to all the panelists. Andre C. Hatchett, the great Rock Newman, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, the wonderful Ronique West, Julian Gordon. You're looking at some people that are, these are the people you can rely on because they love you and they put you first. You know, we talk about the B1 philosophy, hashtag B1. That means black first. B1 means we must be one in order to succeed. B1 to me is as simple as black people are number one. We're the only ones in this country who can tell everybody we survived the slave dungeons, the Middle Passage, the worst slavery in the history of all mankind, 40 years of mass incarceration, 100 years of Jim Crow, and we still shining. We are here. There aren't scholars out there that can do what Dr. Wesley Muhammad does. This brother goes in and he's playing for what some see as the losing team, but he's like LeBron when he's playing for the Cavs. They say, "Why are you playing for the Cavs? You could be playing anywhere." Well, LeBron carried the Cavaliers to a championship by himself, pretty much. If anybody knows sports and knows what I'm talking about, Dr. Wesley Muhammad is a LeBron James for our people. And Julian Gordon is also in that category. Ronique West, these are people who put black first, and that's extremely important. This is not integration fest. This is not where we go and we celebrate black people who've been coronated by the oppressor. These are black people who've been coronated by us. So I honor all of you, and thank you all for participating. I really appreciate that. So now we can bring in the next brother for the next panel that I'm super excited about. A lot of you know, give me a yes or no in the chat if you know about Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed is the creator of a very powerful film series, the Hidden Color series. He's got a new film coming out called Buck Breaking. But beyond that, Tariq has been a mover of American politics. He is an individual that has literally reshaped conversations in a way where he is the, he's basically the person that's upsetting the apple cart in American politics. They all dislike him, which is why I love him so much, because he's out there fighting the good fight. He puts black people first. He's ahead of his time. And so not only has he built a multi-million-dollar empire in the film industry as well as other forms of entertainment, but he's also built what we need in our community, which is black media. Black-owned media allows us to have our voice and to make sure that we are heard. And believe me, the elite, they're shaking in their boots, but you see them shucking, jiving, moving, trying to respond to what's being said by the Tariqs and the Vicky Dillards and everybody else. So please give a digital round of applause and a digital welcome to my brother, Tariq Nasheed. Tariq, are you able to open your video yet, brother? Could somebody unmute Tariq real quick? Because I don't know if I can unmute him on my end. Taryn.
There we go. How about that?
There we go. I think we're good. I think we're good. Can you hear me, brother?
Okay, I can hear you great. You're good. You're good. You're good.
All right. Well, great to see you, man. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you.
Man, my pleasure, brother. This is a beautiful panel you guys have assembled, man. You got some heavyweights on here.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you one up with you because I have so much respect for what you've accomplished in your space. I think that what you're doing, not just with Hidden Colors, but everything else has been historic. I reference you all the time. I don't know if anybody tells you, but I reference you all the time because I tell people, if they read books like How the Jews Invented Hollywood, I let them know that, and I know I'm frozen on the screen, but you can hear me, so it'll eventually work itself out. But I let them know, I say, look, what you're looking at is the beginnings of what is going to become a multi-billion-dollar black film industry. This is how it starts. This is where Warner Brothers came from, MGM. If you read the history, this is where it all began. And so I kind of want to start there, man. In terms of business, you're a person. You're what I call a playmaker. You're not somebody waiting for an opportunity, hoping somebody gives you an opportunity. You create opportunities, and you make things happen. You create and build things. What do you think is the difference between the mindset of a builder versus the oppressor to come along and give them a ride?
Well, man, a lot of us, man, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have been broken spiritually, and they've been taught that they cannot function without white mommy and white daddy lifting them up. This has been something that's been instilled into our psyche for the last couple of centuries. This is why I did the Hidden Colors series, so that we can reverse that, so that we can let Black people know that we've always been an independent people. We've always, especially foundational Black Americans, we've always been able to build without the assistance of the white supremacists. In fact, we build better when we are not being assisted or hindered by them. I want us to get back to that mindset. We've been taught so long that if we don't have white mommy and white daddy holding our hand, we're just going to disintegrate and fail. And nothing can be further from the truth. But like you mentioned earlier, brother, we survived the biggest atrocity in human history, which was the American slave trade. We survived that, got up and dusted ourselves off. No other group could have survived what we've survived, and we're still thriving comparatively. So I just want us to get back to the mindset of us doing for self, handling our own business. You were talking about the film industry, the book, How Jews Created Hollywood. That's a very good book. I read that book, how Jewish immigrants came over in the early 20th century, and they all got on code. This was the important thing. The Jewish immigrants got on code because you had people like Thomas Edison who controlled the film. He was working with Kodak and all of these people, so they controlled who got actual film to make movies. And they did all the movies on the East Coast, so they controlled the permits for movies. So those people had a monopoly on this. The Jewish people came out here to California to get away from that control that they had over there on the East Coast. They got away from the oppressive system and came and built their own thing. That's a great thing. Now, when we talk about early filmmaking, we must not forget people like Oscar Micheaux. He was a Black independent filmmaker, and he was one of the most successful independent filmmakers. He was the one who pioneered independent filmmaking, Black or white, because the film industry was controlled by the corporations at the time, MGM, Universal, all of these people. Oscar Micheaux came along, and this brother, he created the game of renting out theaters and four-walling his movies, going around collecting money, getting his movies four-walled and becoming successful. That was the independent hustle. Another person who we got to give props to as far as independent filmmakers, Mr. Van Peebles. Melvin Van Peebles, a good friend of mine. I worked with him on some other projects before, but in the late 60s, early 70s, when he did Sweet Sweetback, that was a revolutionary thing. He did something outside of the Hollywood system. So we've always been able to create our own lanes without the assistance of the dominant society. And we're getting back to that now. Every generation, we have to remind the young people that we can do things independent of the oppressive system.
Mm. Well, I'll tell you, I like that, like what you said. I liked how you started off by explaining that sometimes in most cases, we're more effective when we don't get so-called assistance. I thank you for not helping, because whenever you help, it seems to somehow hinder everything. Do you think that that mindset, how rare do you think that is in the Black community? I mean, how many people do you know that are willing to question openly things like integration, for example, in the civil rights movement, and this whole idea that we really want to be next to them? We learn better when we're next to them. We do better when we work for them. We do better when we live in their neighborhoods. Do you think that is a majority mindset or still a minority? Or what do you think on that?
I think a lot of us have that mindset. Too many. A lot of us have that mindset. And a small group of us are getting out of it. And that's a good thing, because, we'll create a bowling ball effect. Now that a small group of us are thinking independently, that's going to snowball, and then other people can see that it's done, and then they want to get on that wagon. Going back to Jim Crow, the Negro leagues, the baseball leagues, we forget how successful that was, because the Negro leagues not only made a lot of money for the Black players, for the Black stadiums, it also made a lot of money for the Black press, Black medical people, Black concessions people, Black restaurants. So it was a cottage industry when we had the Negro leagues. When they started to integrate baseball, all of that went by the wayside. See, we got to understand everything that was lost. A lot of us thought, okay, we get to play with the white boys, so we're in the big leagues now, so we can ignore all of this industry that we've created for ourselves. We've been told that integration is the way. We got to get around white folks, and if we get around white folks, things are going to get better. according to history, the minute we try to integrate with them, and we have to define what integration is, because integration is a trick word. We live in a system of white supremacy. We don't live in a system of segregation. See, we thought because we're living in a system of segregation, the antithesis of segregation is integration. So how about we just integrate? That's not the issue. The issue is empowerment and financial empowerment. Integration and segregation, those are just code words. It's all white supremacy. White society has never been segregated from us because they can come into our neighborhoods and do whatever they want. They control certain neighborhoods because they control the money. Whoever controls the money, they're not segregated. Our issue has always been systematic white supremacy. So we always have to look at it from that paradigm.
You know, when you talk about integration, it is kind of funny. I mean, when you really start thinking about integration, it really feels like an occupation. You know,
Yeah.
we just, sure, you can integrate with us. We will take you under our umbrella. We'll let you take a ride in the back seat of our car that we're going to be driving. But we're gonna let you pay. We're gonna let you pay for the gas money. We
Yeah.
might let you do that, but we're not gonna let you drive the car. We're not gonna let you own the car. You can't even. Sometimes you can't even sit in the front seat. Only one of y'all can sit in the front seat. The rest of y'all got to ride in the trunk. And that's what integration kind of felt like to me. And what I like about your independent media outlet is that you've been able to really push these conversations really to the point where you pissed off a lot of people. And I love black people that piss off the mainstream media that upset even the black elite, white elite, etc. Talk about that a little bit in terms of dealing with the black elite and their reaction to you. Many of the people that maybe should be embracing what you're doing are really working extra hard, harder than some white people, to repel you. Talk about that a little bit from a historical context as well as what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. You know what? Starting in the early 70s and the rise of COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO was at its height in the early 70s, and the powers that be, the white ones, they went out of their way to create media apparatuses that will undermine black progress. In the early 70s, we started to see the Congressional Black Caucus. We started to see all of these little cottage, shadowy black organizations with people that we didn't know. These organizations started popping up and we didn't know who these people were, where they were coming from. They weren't coming in from the grassroots like in the early civil rights movement. We knew who Dr. King was. People knew who Malcolm X was. We knew who Stokely Carmichael was. We knew certain people because they were in the communities. In the 70s, all of these little shadowy groups started popping up, acting as the representatives for black society, and nobody knew where these people were coming from. These were people put in place by the white supremacists. And they've been controlling the media for a long time. We're not controlling the media, but they've been posted up as representatives for the media for a long time. Now that we have the internet popping off, when you look at certain things that represents black media or have represented black media, you have a lot of gossip websites, media takeout, shade room, gossip, Madame Noir, and the common denominator with all of these folks, they're run by non-foundational black Americans. That's not a coincidence. All of that is by design. They get people who don't really have a true connection to foundational black Americans or our struggle or our interests, and they put the most garbage things out there to represent black culture. World Star, that's another entity that was run by a non-foundational black American. So these people have the same exploitive mindset as the dominant society. What's interesting, these are the people who are supposed to represent blackness, and even BET now to a certain degree, because BET was co-opted by Viacom, TV One, and all of those guys, they've been co-opted. So notice those people don't really talk about black empowerment. Most of the stuff they focus on is a lot of gossipy, nothing burgers. None of these people, when I did Hidden Colors, none of these people promoted the Hidden Colors series. The Hidden Colors series is the most successful Black history documentary series ever. There's no other series more successful as Hidden Colors. These so-called black entertainment industries that's backed by white money, they act like it doesn't exist because their job is to not have you empowered. They don't want you thinking about empowerment and being woke and being all about consciousness and all about learning and education. They want you talking about the wet pussy challenge and Cardi B and all of this nonsense. So when I started doing Hidden Colors, the first one in 2010, I made sure that when we raised money for it, when we started doing advanced sales, I didn't want any white money. I specifically said, I don't want any white money for this film. I want black men to start getting the advance payments for this film. When we started doing the crowdfunding, Kickstarter was very brand new at the time. I specifically wanted Black men in particular to do early investments for this movie, just so we can show that we can get things done on code with each other. And then we got the movie done. It became a huge success, and everything took off from there.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'll tell you, the Hidden Colors series, when people ask me about the most successful examples of independent Black business ownership, particularly in media, I always talk about that series because I'm so proud of what you accomplished with that. So I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that, just because we got a lot of dreamers in here, people that are building things. Maybe it's somebody in here's got a little raggedy, raggedy piece of shit type business that they don't think it's going to add up to anything. But a lot of us started off small. A lot of us started off stumbling a little bit. A lot of us made mistakes. And I'm a believer that you keep investing in what you're doing. You keep planting those seeds because you don't know what you're creating, right? So can you talk about the more humbling aspects, the challenges of doing what you did? I mean, that film, I don't count another man's money, but I know that sucker has made millions and done a great job. Talk about the challenges so people can kind of get a sense of that.
The thing is, when you do anything you do as Black folks, I want us to get into the habit of going out of our way to make our products competitive and comparative to those in the dominant society. I know that a lot of times we have limited resources. I know a lot of times we feel like we have to cut corners, but we have to really show a lot of passion in the work we do. When you're passionate about something, you're going to automatically put your all into it. I was passionate about our history, so I wasn't going to cut any corners. I was going to get the best cameras. I got some of the best cameramen, the best audio teams, the best editing teams. I'm going to make this series competitive and comparative to what you see on TV and what you see in the movies. That's why when my films come out, they outsell a lot of documentaries by the dominant society, because I'm thinking competing with them. I don't think in terms of just lowballing everything, just putting it out just to put it out. I look at the Black audience as an audience that deserve high quality entertainment. You deserve high quality films. We don't have to give each other bootleg stuff. When we do things for each other, we have to value each other enough to say, hey, I'm going to present the best product possible for my people. And people can feel that. And that makes a big difference. So sometimes in the initial run, you have to sacrifice certain resources and scrounge up the money if you don't have it. Whatever you do, put out a good product. Do not half-ass a product, because people can feel a half-ass product. If you have a clothing line, don't just stitch together some polyester and put it up and say, hey, Black owned. That's not going to work. You're going to have to put together some fly quality things. You're going to have to sacrifice and invest and make sure you present your products to the public that's going to be competitive and comparative to what the dominant society has.
Now, where can people watch Hidden Colors, by the way? What's the URL for that?
Yeah, you can go hiddencolorsfilm.com, hiddencolorsfilm.com.
All right. So the next thing I want to ask you about, man, is you and I have been kind of wired in on this stuff with Ice Cube and the election and everything else, and I think a lot of folks here kind of know what I think about it. I'd like for them to know what you're thinking as you're watching this. Let's start with Ice Cube. And Ice Cube went to the Democrats with his contract with Black America, which was written very, very well. He did consult with a lot of experts on it. He didn't just wake up, roll over, and write it. He talked to people. And then the Democrats did not respond, so he also talked to the Republicans, which led to a lot of controversy. Now you're a Trump supporter, everything else. What did you see in terms of what was going on with the whole Ice Cube phenomenon and the reaction and everything else?
See, the thing is, they're mad at Ice Cube, and Ice Cube is doing a great thing, and I stand behind Ice Cube 100%. We